Chapter 3. The Lies We Tell Ourselves and Others. April 2nd, 3965. 5 days after my solitary confinement began, it ended with a bang. The sound of my bedroom door slamming into the wall startled me awake. "Emily!" Madame Maria's voice echoed throughout my room. If I hadn't been lying down, I would have jumped a foot into the air. As it was, I barely registered the sounds of shuffling feet before I was wrapped in the biggest bear hug of my life.
Oh, thank gods.
Madame Maria's warm arms wrapped around me like a worried mother seeing their child for the first time in days. My face firmly pressed against her stiff brown dress until she pulled back, rubbing her hand against my paint-covered cheek to remove the dried substance.
Are you all right? What did you get up to while in here? Why are you covered in paint?
She asked, as if everything in my room wasn't covered with paper.
It does not look like you lost too much weight while in here. Did a guard sneak you food as I asked them to? Or did your father have something to do with that? Do not answer. If you do, then I will have to report it to Queen Lilith, and she will figure out a way to stop it. As it was, the ward she placed around your room was already—
Madame Maria's voice died off as a guard in the doorway cleared his throat before he unsheathed his sword enough to convey a threat. What that threat was, I didn't know, but judging by how Madame Maria's face blanched at the sight of it, it was bad. Even if I hadn't known that before, Madame Maria's sudden disentanglement from me would have alerted me.
Madame Maria, what's wrong? Do I need to beat up that big, mean guard for you?
I puffed out my chest before glaring at the large, muscly guard, but I was turned away by Madame Maria. She had a small, bitter smile on her face, still pale from the threat in the room, but clearly trying to keep it together. Her voice had an unusual tremble as she stood up, grimacing from pain I couldn't identify. Wherever she was injured was covered by her long-sleeved, high-necked dress. It sent a bolt of fear through me at the sight of the woman I called my mother as she hid her pain. But I wasn't foolish enough to call it out. Madame Maria never liked it when I called out her injuries. So I kept quiet, even though I sent another withering glare at the guard. The guard's shivering, chattering teeth were all I needed to know that my intention of freezing him with magic was partly successful. How dare that man threaten the kindest woman in the entire palace? My attention was once again brought back to Madame Maria as she turned my face to look at her. A small, genuine smile on her face, a slight laugh in her tone as she said,
You have a real venomous glare there, Princess Emily. Make sure you do not wear it out on someone who is not at fault. The guard is merely doing their job. It is I who overstepped.
Madame Maria gestured for me to follow her to the bathroom. Her limping steps caused me to once again glare at the guard before getting up to follow her. Once we were alone in the bathroom, the door firmly shut behind us, Madame Maria once again brought me into a tight hug. Her voice broke, turning stilted, as she buried her head in my hair.
I love you so much, my daughter. But please never call me Mum again.
My initial gut instinct was to protest, but upon seeing Madame Maria's glimmering wet eyes and pained grimace as she stepped back, I knew I should just follow orders. I was wrong to call Madame Maria Mom anyway. If I hadn't, none of this would have happened.
All right, I'm sorry. I didn't want you to get hurt.
My disappointment was obvious in my stilted voice. At least I got Madame Maria to admit she thought of me as a daughter. I would just have to live with that. Madame Maria kissed my forehead in a moment, much like father would before she grabbed my hands, rubbing them with her thumbs.
I would take 1,000,000 punishments if it meant your smile never dulled, my dear Emily. However, for us to enjoy our time together from now on, it means I have to be more callous, I guess you could say. It is the only way I can continue to protect you. So please do not take it personally if I order you around and no longer share a laugh with you. I still love you, but I have to do so.
She brushed her fingers through my hair, grimacing as they caught on a bit of dried paint. The familiar gesture brought ease to my aching chest. It wasn't as if Madame Maria was going away for good. She just had to be more distant for my own good. It wasn't like this had to have been a permanent arrangement, right? So why did my heart hurt like it was being squeezed? Like slowly, those who brought me comfort were being taken away from me. Why did I feel so lonely when Madame Maria was right in front of me?
Come, let us get you showered. We might make it to lunch if we hurry. Pay attention while I wash you. I don't know how long I have to take care of you from now on.
Was Madame Maria going to be replaced? I never got the answer to that question. Instead, the next several hours were filled with grooming, ending with Madame Maria declaring half of my hair a lost cause. A surprise haircut later, 3/4 of my long hair was lopped off. The remaining barely went past my shoulders and was put up to disguise the dramatic hair loss. I wasn't married or engaged, so I didn't need my hair up, but I still preferred it to the sight of my missing hair. I always liked my long hair, even if I didn't like the other overly feminine ways Queen Lilith liked to dress me in. There had to be a reason Queen Lilith preferred me in tulle skirts, but I preferred things that allowed for better movement. Pants were even more preferable, but I had only gotten away with wearing one of those. An old pair of jacks, conveniently enough. Madame Maria was certain that if I wore a pair, I would no longer want one. It backfired spectacularly. In the end, we made it to lunch. However, the loud screaming match in the dining room could be heard even through closed doors. Father was pissed, to say the least.
Where is our daughter, Lilith? You swore she'd be here for breakfast, but she has yet to appear. She didn't even ask me for breakfast today.
I told you once, so I'll tell you again. That brat of a daughter of yours is just spoiled. If she chose not to eat the food they were serving her during her school trip, then it's not my fault she starved herself. You should have let her. How else is she supposed to learn her lesson?
It felt like a slap in the face to hear Queen Lilith call me Father's child, rather than acknowledge I was also related to her. It hurt almost as much as the bitter hate laced throughout her words. Though my theory that she had been lying to Father was proven true, the fact left a bitter taste in my mouth.
If that were true, then why did you raise a ward around Emily's room? Don't you dare lie to me.
The sound of Father's booming voice made me flinch back. The hand that was outstretched for the handle pulled back as if slapped.
To keep unwanted visitors out of it, of course. You didn't want the wards around her room to fall, did you?
Queen Lilith made little sense. Why would the wards around my room have fallen if I were gone for 5 days? And why would her ward have prevented them from falling? I had the powerful urge to open the door to protest, to tell Father everything that had transpired over the last 5 days. However, the mere thought sent a gnawing hunger through my stomach. If I tattled on Queen Lilith, would she still be able to put me in isolation? Or would the old saying of snitches get stitches prove true? The mere thought of going a day without food again made me reconsider the thought of telling on the Queen. It wasn't as if anything would have changed anyway. So why had I hesitated to open the door? Let alone long enough for Madame Maria to take it into her own trembling hands. Her face blanched more than it had at any other point in my life as the large white doors opened silently. The arguing couple paused in their fight as the hallway light lit up the dark room. Swirling strands of agitated magic surrounded them. Lilith's crackling red flames fought Father's cold snow as if losing wasn't an option. The effect was ruined because I knew Father could have snuffed out Lilith's flames before she ever spoke a word. That the flames were immediately doused with Father's icy magic when he saw me was proof enough.
Emily!
Father wrapped me in his arms as if he had feared I was dead. His cool skin felt wonderful on mine, even as I felt Queen Lilith's heated glare upon us. It felt like she was trying to light us on fire with her irritated magic, but I didn't care. Instead, I returned the hug just as fiercely as I had received it. My eyes burned as wet tracks stained Father's robe. Father's magic wrapped around me, shielding me from Lilith's glare as I buried myself in his robe. The expensive black velvet was soft, feeling so much like home that I almost believed I was safe.
Where had you gone?
Father asked, his voice soft with a love I felt from no one else. Where should I have started? That I called Madame Maria Mom in front of Lilith? That Lilith had punished me by putting me in solitary confinement for 5 days? Or would it have been better to tell him I was thankful for the food because otherwise I would have died? My head was so full of questions I didn't know where to start, but I knew I was safe in Father's arms. A delusion that was quickly shattered when Queen Lilith cleared her throat. Her glare was just as heated, if not even more venomous, than it had been before. It felt like she was trying to kill me with her eyes alone, as she said,
Emily was on a school trip. Right, Emily?
The emphasis the Queen put on my name put me on edge. Would she kill me if I contradicted her? She would try, at the very least. If not directly, then indirectly through starvation. The only hope I had was that Father would see through my lie. My father loosened his hold so we could look face to face. My eyes were still red and painful, my vision blurry, as I lied to my father for the first time in my life.
Queen Lilith is telling the truth.
I said, praying that Father wouldn't believe me. By his deep-set frown, he clearly didn't, but he didn't contradict me either.
We will talk more later, but no, I can do nothing unless I know what's happening.
Father's voice had a stone-clad hardness to it that let me know I had just made the wrong decision. But what had been the right one? Would Father have truly protected me from Queen Lilith? If I had told the truth, would Father have acted against Queen Lilith? I didn't know. And that was terrifying.